It's a new week, and that means that there's a new weekly watch list of movies that you may never have heard of that I'm going to talk about today. So let's get into it. What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing my weekly watch list, which is a top list of like 5 movies that I watched this week that I think maybe you might want to check out. These are typically movies that I have in my collection or ones I just want to watch online. What I do is I go through each one, tell you where to watch it online or where to pick it up physically if you want to pick it up for yourself. All the links to everything will be down below, so if you are curious about checking one of these out, you can. But yes, I need your help with these videos, so make sure you watch them all the way to the end because it does help out the algorithm for my channel and it helps me stick around a lot longer. So without further ado, let's get into this wild bunch of weird freaking movies that I got to check out this week. All right, so first up we have Nomads, which this is a movie that I don't really remember from the 80s that I really was kind of curious about checking out. I remember seeing this movie on the shelf at my local video store, and I don't really remember too much about it. I think it might have been on like HBO when I was a kid or something like that. It came out in 1986. It's actually on Shudder and AMC now, and you can pick it up from Scream Factory, but it's essentially about Pierce Brosnan, this French anthropologist who's specializing in nomadic groups, ends up moving to Los Angeles, which is the epitome of everything he doesn't do. And moving to a civilized place is kind of the against what he wants to be doing with his degree and his smarts. Him and his wife move into this new house, and all of a sudden somebody comes in to their garage, paints it up with some really nasty, violent things on the wall, and they get a little spooked. Not Pierce Brosnan's character. No. Jean-Charles, he gets really interested and decides to follow this group of members all around the city for like almost 2 days straight, taking pictures of them and even allowing them to know of his presence. They drive around in this big black van doing all kinds of crimes all over the place, and they aren't actually real.
They are a nightmare.
Yeah, you heard that right. As a matter of fact, this whole movie gets started off with a completely different intro than I was expecting. Jean-Charles, played by Pierce Brosnan, shows up at a hospital, and this woman doctor who's been working too long, she hears his last dying words as he's been shouting some French that people don't know what he's saying. And that starts off a whole chain of events for this woman where she goes down this sort of hole of all of his memories, and it's like part supernatural and part like, I don't know how to explain it. It's got like a folk thing in Los Angeles. So it's like taking like nomads, which are people who always travel around, they have no home, people that basically keep moving. And these guys in particular are just bad. They're like kind of like biker gangs or punk rock kids that are just kind of traveling all over the place. They're not real, and there's a lot of a story that kind of surrounds this whole fucking thing that's pretty wild and bananas, and Pierce Brosnan's character gets wrapped up in it, and his wife gets wrapped up in it, and this woman who is reliving all of his memories gets wrapped up in it. Very unconventional story that I've seen. I would say that it kind of reminds me of movies like Wolfen, if you've ever seen Wolfen, or The Last Wave, which is that Australian movie. I just thought it was really different, you know? Like, it's a little slow, but I think if you pay attention, you can kind of pick up on the atmosphere here, and you're never gonna believe who actually directed the movie. So before Die Hard and before Predator, this is the movie that John McTiernan actually directed, his first feature film. So it's a real legit big budget movie that just did not do well at the time. In fact, one of the stars in the movie, Leslie Ann Down, who plays the doctor that gets shoved all the memories in her head, she actually says some really cool stuff in the extras on this disc, which Scream Factory put out, where she's like talking about this isn't a movie for everybody, and that's what makes it kind of special. And I think I'm one of the people that actually really kind of like this movie. I don't love it, but I would definitely rewatch it because it's just so different. It has this like earthy feel to it, but also this like modern feel to it. Plus you got the like punk rock sort of biker gang going on. There's other stars in the movie like Francis Bay and Adam Ant, you know, the singer, and Mary Warrenov, who's like an 80s legend as far as like a lot of horror movies. If you like 80s movies, this might be one to check out. It's a very legit big budget film. It just does things a little different that I think the mainstream really wasn't ready for. I actually got this sent to me by Resolution. Thank you so much, buddy. I would definitely say this is about a 7 out of 10 on the scale for me. I think most people are going to be a little bit lower on it. I really enjoyed it. It was a weird movie that I think most people should check out. And I wouldn't blame you if you didn't love it, but you should check it out to find out if you're one of them. This one's up on Shudder now, and I'll put a link down below for you to pick up a copy online.
Can't be. I'm alive. Can't you hear me?
Up next, we have Short Night of Glass Dolls by Celluloid Dreams. Now, if you saw my unboxing video, I did a mail video that I got a bunch of stuff in the mail from MVD Entertainment, and they sent this out to me through Celluloid Dreams. Now, this has had another release through another company on 4K, but this is their version, and it is actually pretty nice. This is the hard box that you get with it. You know, the movie comes with 4 discs. There's like one for the Blu-ray and the 4K. And this like crazy booklet all about the movie. This is a really different movie. This is about a man, this man right here, who's played by Jean Sorel, who's got bright blue eyes, and man, do they look good on the 4K here. Like they just seem like the eyes are ready to pop out and stab you in the face. Now, a lot of people compare this to a giallo. I don't really feel like it's a giallo, but it is kind of within that wave of giallos, and it's done by a guy who's done spaghetti westerns. It is Aldo Laldo who did the direction and writing of this, but essentially this American journalist, he's like a kind of stationed in Prague and also in Italy, and he's doing some sort of like research in Central Europe for this paper that he's doing, and he's working with this local journalist group or whatever. And his new girlfriend, who he has met from Prague, comes to visit him while he's working this like new case. All of a sudden, she just disappears in the middle of the night, and he's left with trying to find her. Now, this is another really weird story where the movie starts off completely different. Just like Nomads, this movie starts off where the lead guy is actually dead. Yeah, what the fuck? 2 movies, by the way, back to back, about guys, the lead dies in the first 10 minutes of the film, and you don't know what the hell is going on by the end of the movie. So this is like these mystery movies that you might be interested in, but it's just him kind of fully aware, laying in his body, walking through the motions of like what happens at the morgue, people trying to determine if he's dead. Why is his eyes wide open? Why does he have some signs of life but not? And something has happened to him, and something has happened to his wife, and he's remembering all the situations that happened up into his death. This whole movie is just about kind of flashbacks of him in his life, like going to figure out where his girlfriend is, but then he gets taken into this weird situation, and by the end of the movie it is just bananas what's going on in this movie. It was from 1971 too, so they have this like kind of spillage of like that Love Generation thing going on in this movie and psychedelics, so it's got like a mix of like a lot of different things in it that really kind of make this one an interesting watch. I wasn't in love with it, okay, but it definitely is different enough that I was like, okay, what the hell? And to have both of these movies, Nomads and this, I'm just on some weird level with like these movies that kind of connect to one another. And I've seen so many connections like that since I've been doing the podcast and doing this show. So, but yeah, I think it's fun for people who they probably like Italian horror movies, giallos, things like that. This one has kind of like a supernatural element with like a crime drama thing going on in it. It's definitely a mystery movie, and people are starting to die all around him. Some of the characters in this movie are a little odd, and they act a little weird towards women in this movie, but I don't know if it's just a cultural thing or I don't know. It just seemed really off how they were like a couple of situations in this movie. And I think why they were doing it is to try to make everyone look like the bad guy so that you would think, oh, that's the person who did it, right? But it's just done in such a way that's kind of didn't really work. That's why I'll give this one probably like a 6 out of 10. We also have Barbara Bach in here, who plays his girlfriend. She was one of the Bond girls, so the spy who shagged me. And funny enough, the star of this movie turned down a role for a Bond girl. So again, more connections. What are you gonna do? But yeah, the end on this one is pretty wild. It's not gonna be for everyone, but if you are a fan of this and you do like 4K and you want to collect it, this release is actually pretty good looking. This is a little bit of a darker transfer than the other versions I've seen that seem really bright. That could be a bad thing for some people. I personally think that the contrast is turned up a little bit, and the color, the saturation kind of goes through it. That's why his eyes are so piercing and like punching through the screen. But I think the colors look really good in this one. So other than it being a little dark, and I'm not used to seeing this movie, so I can't really compare it 100%. You get 4K, Blu-ray, bonus features right here. And then you get the Grindhouse version, which is the paralyzed pan and scan version from America. So it's called Paralyzed, I guess, but it has all of them in there, very much like the Grindhouse release with the Beyond. They have all the versions in here. The extras on here were pretty good. There's quite a few. I won't go through everything here, but you get the original Italian and English opening credits, English, Italian, Grindhouse theatrical trailers, 7 featurettes with Aldo Lado, Jean Sorel, and Enzo Doria. You get a 35mm Grindhouse version, export Malastra credits, original US Paralyzed VHS pan and scan version, and a commentary track by writer-director Aldo Lado, and the commentary track by film critic Guido Henkel, and an isolated score track too, so which is pretty cool because the music in this is pretty decent. It has like this vibe about it that feels like there's something always going on, even if the movie didn't make sense to feel that way. Photo gallery and the 64-page booklet. Yeah, thank you so much for sending this out to me. Celluloid Dreams, I think they did a pretty good job here. I've never had one of their movies before, so if you're kind of on the fence about them, I definitely approve. I think they put out a pretty decent thing here. This is the J card that goes on the back. I just took it off and slipped it on the inside. 6 out of 10. You can watch this on Full Moon and Dark Room on their subscription, or you can pick up a copy online. It comes out on the 29th of this month. So by the time you're seeing this, pretty much tomorrow, you can pre-order it, get it out maybe the next day or so if it's on Amazon or something like that. I'll put links down below for you. Up next, we have Dead Mail, which is another movie that is on Shudder, and it is on AMC and Shudder. And it is a movie that I actually was going to review when I went to the Fantasia Film Festival, or one of the festivals last year, and I just didn't have enough time to watch them all. I had so many to review. It was just so much work that I had to put some out, and I didn't get to catch it. But I've been meaning to, and I've wanted to for a while, and I'd heard some pretty decent things about it and checked it out this week. And it's essentially about an ominous note that kind of arrives at the post office. Somebody sends a bloody note without like a full address and everything. There's these people, what they call dead mail investigators, who find these pieces of mail that have no full address or they can't read it or something. And they do sort of a backwards investigation on it to try to figure out where this letter is going or where this parcel is going. And they do some pretty heavy detective work. And this one's essentially about this famed legend dead mail investigator at this post office, and there's a guy on the outside who is torturing a man, and this man walks out to the post office to stick his help letter in that mailbox, and it's the chain of events that occur with that letter that gets in there and that dead mail investigator. And man, does it get pretty wild on a very small budget way. This is by directors Joe DeBoer and Kyle McConaughey. I believe this is like their first feature film. They did do another sort of anthology called Pendulum in 2023. Some actors that you may recognize, they're not big stars, but they definitely are someone I've seen before, you know. Has this like retro vibe about it, so it's like done almost like it's done out of the 80s or something like that. There's this whole synth story about keyboards, musical keyboards. The guy who creates these sort of synth instruments, and he's connected to this bad guy in some way. I don't want to spoil it. Just look at it as a very condensed crime, sort of Fargo style, you know, crime drama. Not as funny, but it definitely is treating a very tiny story with a big sort of style about it. A lot of the camera angles are very reminiscent to the 80s, shot in that old way. They even put film like layers over it to make it look like it's this old film that you're watching. And it's just an interesting story about this small little town and this small little instance that's kind of crazy. You get to follow two angles of this, the dead male investigator and the bad guy. And then you kind of understand what has happened with the movie throughout watching it. And I didn't love this film, but you know, I think it's pretty cool for an independent film. I think they did a really good job with it. I'd probably say this one's almost a 6.5. It's not one that I'll watch again like multiple times, but I guess I wouldn't mind watching it again in the future and seeing what these directors, I should say, are going to do in the future, because I would like to see what they do next. Like I said, it has that Fargo vibe, just not as funny. There's just situations that are kind of like, oh, wow, that's kind of weird. The things that go on in it are pretty wild and interesting. But it's hard to explain this one without really ruining the movie for you. It's really interesting how they do it. It's not going to be for everybody, but I actually kind of liked it. It's on Shudder and AMC Plus now, and if there is a link to a physical media of it, I'll put it down below for you to add it to your wish list. Any of these you can add to your wish list and buy later. That way you never forget it. Up next, we got Empire of the Dark. That's right. This one is one that MVD Entertainment sent out to me. It is done by VCI Entertainment and MVD Visual. So they teamed up to do this release. Now, if you understand what So Bad It's Good is, that's the kind of films that are trying to be serious but don't have enough budget or skill to make it. Somehow are so earnest in what they're trying to do, it becomes entertaining, even if it's laughable and bad. There's some sort of entertainment that you get from it, and that's exactly this movie. This is like one of the king of the bad movies, and everybody that sees it apparently has some sort of passion for it. Some more than others, obviously. I am sort of on the higher end, I'd probably say, because I love these kind of films. People are comparing this to Rambo in Hell, but it's also called like a vanity project because the guy who stars in it directed it, edited it, wrote it, and it's almost like he made the movie to make himself seem like this amazing hero. Again, it's so earnest in what it tries to do. It's so amazing. Let me tell you a little bit about it, and I'll tell you some funny moments that I saw in it, and it may win you over. So this one takes place with a story in the beginning that happens like way in the past, and 20 years have passed, and the situation has, you know, some of the people that were involved in the situation have grown up and then recollide together to fight the evil that was once before. In the beginning of the movie, there's this guy who's sort of a private detective of sorts, and he is searching for a killer, and he comes across this satanic cult from another dimension, by the way, these sort of lizard-like weird things, and monsters that are called up from hell, and a murderous ninja like assassins all over the place, and they're trying to like sacrifice a baby in order to bring back this demon to rule over the earth. And it gets thwarted in the beginning of the movie, and the baby gets saved, and that baby grows up and bumps into his daddy again, or so we think. Now, the main guy, the main star, the main hero is this guy who's a private detective by the name of Richard Flynn, man of mystery, desire, sexuality, and one-liners that'll make you laugh like this one.
And watch me blow this kid's brains all over the wall.
He looks good down there.
That's where he belongs.
charming. There's something charming about this movie and just batshit crazy about this movie, because some of the action scenes are actually pretty decent, even if they're, you know, holding back their punches just a little bit. This guy acted it out anyway in some pretty dangerous stunts, I might add, that he had no business doing. And he, you know, made a couple of these movies. Actually, Steve Barkett directed another movie called The Aftermath, which I have never seen but have been wanting to see. And now that I've seen this movie, which I hear is better than that one, I hear that one's pretty good though, and a lot of people love that too. I definitely want to check it out. But yeah, it's like Indiana Jones meets James Bond. It's pretty much a fucking, you know, manly man's cream dream in a movie. The dude's sleeping around with everyone. He has a wife, a mistress who dies, and then he gets to sleep with her again in the future when she was not really dead. Because there's these people in the movie that live multiple lives because they can somehow. They never really die. They're immortals, but they call them perennials, which I just thought was so bizarre. There was like a scene in this movie where a couple are making out, and some of the dialogue in it was just, oh, it was rough. So they're making out, and she's like, "What's that sound?" You know, it's the typical, there's something climbing around outside while they're making out kind of thing. And if something is like approaching the car, the guy's just like,
"That's just my shorts expanding."
Oh man, it's pretty good. So Bad It's Good kind of fare. I honestly think if you enjoy So Bad It's Good action films, this is definitely higher up on the list. It may not be for everyone, but yeah, if you've been down that hole looking for weird movies to see, and you're like me and you love finding that kind of stuff, this is a must buy. And having it on Blu-ray with all the extras that are in here is just great to have. You know, it's like finally on Blu-ray, apparently for the very first time. And I'll pause that for you to see. Audio commentary with Steve Barkett and Chris Barkett. He's actually in some of the extras. His son was in the movie playing his son, or sort of son. They got a few of his shorts that are in the film. It's Black Tea, a short film by Laura Berklet McQuay, Nightcaller by Steve Barkett, Splat from the Past retro podcast interview with Steve Barkett, which is actually pretty good. I watched that one. The Aftermath trailer, the Empire of the Dark trailer, and Steve Barkett interview with Buster Crabbe, who played Flash Gordon in like the very first Flash Gordon movie. And they also have a fan-made poster on the reverse side, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, you of course get your Blu-ray with the movie and a couple of extras on there, and then you have the extras on this disc. They do the movie and bonus features, and then they have a DVD of, believe it has the movie and the bonus features on it too. It's a little weird that there's 3 discs, but I guess they just couldn't fit it all on one disc. So, but yeah, thanks MVD and VCI for sending this out. I actually really enjoyed it. I would give this about a 6.5 out of 10 on the So Bad It's Good scale. You can watch this on Fawsome TV, so Fawsome, like FAWESOM.TV, or pick up a copy on sale from MVD Entertainment. I'll put a link down below. Last and not least, we have Found Footage 3D. So this is one I picked up online. This is a movie that was one of the original Shudder first kind of movies when they were starting to pick up movies at the festivals and stuff like that. And they picked this one up, which I don't like that other side of it, but it's in there. But it's actually in 3D. And the story on this one is pretty wild. It's one that some people get and some people don't. So I'll just warn you that up front. This one came out in 2016, and I actually watched it online, and they were going to give out free, like the 3D glasses if you wrote them, and they would send it to you. So you could watch it when it aired on Shudder. They never sent it to me, so I don't know what happened to that, but maybe it just became too much and they just had to turn a lot of people down, but I finally got it. So this one is essentially about a group of filmmakers that set out to make their first found footage film called Found Footage 3D. It's a horror movie, obviously, but they find themselves in an actual found footage horror movie when the evil entity of the film that they're talking about escapes into their behind the scenes sort of footage. So this is kind of a spoofy film in a way, like a fun look at like found footage in general, while delivering sort of semi scares, more of like a fun scare kind of situation where you're just kind of like expecting everyone to die and you're not necessarily engrossed in the scares. It's not like an engrossing film. It's sort of taking the joke and presenting it on the screen like, hey, we're taking the piss out of found footage and we're doing it in 3D because we're enthusiasts. That's why we're shooting in 3D, like, which makes no sense because it's like shooting in 3D, it seems wholly intentional is what it seems like. But that's kind of the fun part about this movie. It's not really trying to be so serious. It's sort of just taking found footage and trying to do something unique with it, which I actually kind of like. It's by Steven DeGennaro, who, by the way, the director of this movie, happened to have an astrophysics degree, a doctorate's degree, a PhD in astrophysics before he made this film. Kudos, man. It's kind of weird that you would do the movie, but we all have our things that we like. And I don't think it turned out so bad. I think there's some people that don't like this movie because they don't really understand the humor aspect of it. And so they don't know that it's supposed to be kind of spoofing itself a little. And so they try to take it seriously because they're engrossed in the story, because the characters in the movie find out that they're actually investigating a real haunted location. And a lot of the cast don't know it. And so it's essentially about this man and his wife who are visiting a cabin, who are investigating it for this movie that they're making. And a woman had killed her husband in that same place years before. And so it's kind of like the perfect setup for things to go poorly. One thing I will say is that this movie is a little slow to get started. It's a little long, and some people do complain about it getting to the good stuff. If you're looking for the scares or something like that, you're probably not going to get it right away. There's a lot of build up to it, but I think it pays off in some of the stupid jokes that they have with each other. Not the funniest thing, but still entertaining enough to get you through, in my personal opinion. But yeah, just know that going in. I don't know. I think it's a really fun, tongue-in-cheek sort of way to enjoy found footage. The 3D in it is kind of a mixed bag. There's a couple of things in it that make it interesting. I kind of like 3D in a way, but I don't think it's totally necessary to watch this. And you get both versions on this particular disc, and they give you 2 sets of glasses that you can wear. It kind of sucks that it's the red and blue, but that's also kind of the nostalgia part of it too. So I personally think it's worth a watch, and I bought it for that reason. I think it's like a 6.5 out of 10. A lot of these movies that I'm going to be showing you on this could be higher, could be lower, but found footage 3D is one that people may like on a second watch, which, by the way, you can watch this up on Shudder right now or AMC Plus, and or pick up a copy. I'll put a link down below. But yeah, that's it, guys. That's everything for this week that I watched. I hope you enjoyed that. I really like to try to explore the outer fringes of horror and see what I can find that a lot of people either talked poorly about, haven't seen for a while, maybe didn't do great when they released, but deserve a second watch. I like to find those gems for you guys. Might not be for everybody, but for that particular person, it really is just that big of a deal. Let me know which ones of these movies you would like to see or give a chance to, and let me know of any movies that I should check out, maybe on the next one. Thanks for coming by for my weekly watch list. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think, and as always, long live the void.